With the trade deadline quickly approaching, coming up next Tuesday, there's been a lot of news about different guys that could be available for trade. And right now, with the Colts' needs for right now and in the future, there are some people that I think there's a chance we could end up going after. This isn't me sitting here saying, hey, let's go make sure we trade for these guys. I'm fine with going to the draft with all the draft picks, okay? But here, we're going to be talking about, we've already talked about Jerry Jeudy in the past, but there's an update yesterday from Dove Kleiman said that the Broncos will be listening to trade interest on cornerback Patrick Surtain, safety Justin Simmons, offensive tackle Garrett Bowles, wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver Cortland Sutton, and linebacker Josie Jewell. So it seems like the Broncos are at a point where they see what they've gotten with Russell Wilson, right? But they gave up so much to get Russell Wilson, and they want to get some draft capital. They're willing to part with some of their best players to try to get some first round and second round draft picks, is what it sounds like. They want to try to rebuild. They want to try to be in a position to be able to get a quarterback at some point. So they have some players available. And again, we've talked about Jerry Jeudy, and hey, with what we need right now, right? Juju Brents is injured. We're not sure exactly how long that's going to be. I don't know if that's more long term or short term. He's not on the IR right now, so sounds like it could be more short term. But he looked like he was hurting pretty bad when he did get hurt in the game. So with that uncertainty and with the way the secondary is right now, I want to know how you guys would feel about if we gave up draft capital for Patrick Surtain. Right, this is a corner that's only 23 years old. He's 6'2", 202 pounds, right? Has the long arms. He fits the exact mold of what Chris Ballard looks for, and he's top end talent. Like, he might be the best corner in the league. He's competing for that position at least. So bringing him in, like, we'd have to give up a lot, right? So what else could we do, right? We know we need a receiver. We all want a receiver in the first round. Next year's draft is going to be another draft with a lot of good receivers in it. So getting one of those first round receivers is going to be important next season. So that's where the hesitation comes from me. But that's why, again, we've already talked about Jerry Jeudy, Patrick Surtain, Jerry Jeudy in the same package. Okay, and then if you package those guys together in a trade to bring over here, then what kind of stuff would we have to give up? You have to assume we're giving up at least one player, right? Got to throw in a player so you can save some of your draft capital. So in that instance, that might be a situation where Alec Pierce gets thrown into a trade. That might be a situation where we see one of these tight ends get thrown into a trade, right? The veteran like Mo Alley Cox, maybe they go younger and we trade a guy like Kylan Granson. And heck, with Nick Cross just sitting there waiting to be a starter, I wouldn't be surprised if some action happened with Julian Blackman, right? If the Colts did make a trade and he was a part of it, I wouldn't be totally surprised. I've had other people from other teams, fans of other teams ask me personally if I think Julian Blackman's going to be traded and what I think the Colts would want for him. There's definitely a market for it. It sounds like there are teams, at least fans of teams, that would want Julian Blackman in the building. So I think there are options for the Colts here, guys that they're not going to pay anyways. They're going to end up letting go in free agency. So might as well trade them, get some assets in that you can pay for the long term, because Patrick Surtain looks like he's going to be an all-time great. Jerry Jeudy, not going to command the biggest contract, and he's on his fifth-year option next year anyways. Don't even really have to worry about that right now. So let's say it is Alec Pierce, right? And this is, of course, all hypothetical. So Alec Pierce, you have Jerry Jeudy and Patrick Surtain in the same trade. So you're probably looking at giving up, Alec Pierce, a first rounder from this upcoming draft, a third rounder from this upcoming draft, a fourth rounder from this upcoming draft. Actually, scratch that. It's going to be a fourth for next year's draft, but then a sixth round pick for the draft that's upcoming. So all in all, like, I think, yes, if we go get Patrick Surtain, there's going to be a lot of draft capital that has to be given up, even if you're throwing in a player like Alec Pierce, right? Alec Pierce, Jerry Jeudy, those numbers even still don't offset. Jerry Jeudy has more value than Alec Pierce, in my opinion. So the draft capital is going to be up there, which is why this is a move that I don't know if I'd want to make, right? Like, yes, it'd be great to have Patrick Surtain, but if you look at what you could get in the draft over the next couple years compared to draft capital that you'll have to give up to get these guys, I trust Ballard more than a lot of fans do. I know a lot of fans have their qualms with Chris Ballard. I actually think Chris Ballard does a good job of drafting, and I think having good coaches in the building is finally starting to highlight the fact that, yeah, there are a lot of good players on this football team. Right now, admittedly, Chris Ballard doesn't tend to draft the stars of the NFL. Josh Downs looks like he could be one of those guys. There's some linebackers and offensive linemen that have been really good for us. It's those other positions that he hasn't nailed down. But again, a lot of talent on this team. But that secondary clearly needs upgraded. We know we're going to need to upgrade that secondary. I feel like Kenny Moore is playing in a way where he's either going to be, definitely going to be re-signed, or he's just going to be too expensive for us to re-sign because he's playing so well, right? And with today's NFL, like those nickel corners might be the most important people on the defense. Being able to play in the run game, being able to have the ability to play man and still be able to play well in your zone. Like Kenny Moore does everything well. He gets sacks. Like everything he does, he just does at an elite level. So, I want him back. And I think there's a way to bring him back. You can still trade for Patrick Surtain. He's on his rookie deal, even though he's going to be wanting to get paid very soon. But for the time being, he is on his rookie contract. And even after the Jonathan Taylor deal, Colts still have a lot of cap space going into next offseason. So, I think we can make things happen. I think we can make it work. And I think it would immediately give us some of the best depth, right? Because if you think at that point, who are going to be the starters when Juju Brents comes back? Like, if all the guys are healthy, you have Patrick Surtain on one side, Juju Brents on the other, and then Kenny Moore in the slot, right? And that would leave a guy like Jalen Jones as the fourth corner, which would be great for us. Like having him as the fourth corner, he can play special teams in the meantime and be great there. He was really good on special teams before he had to get into the starting lineup, and he's been playing really well at corner in the starting lineup. So, yeah, it'd be great to have him as depth, but like I'm also somebody I like to see these young guys get in and start to be great immediately, right? Like being able to play more is a thing that'll help you, sustain a legacy and be able to get into the Hall of Fame one day. And that's every football player's dream. So if, rookies are playing well, then I think, you should stick with them as long as they're playing well. So this one's hard for me because yes, I do want to see Juju Brents and Jalen Jones and Kenny Moore be our three corners for the foreseeable future. But also, it's hard to sit here and be like, nah, man, I don't really want Patrick Surtain. Like, yes, it'll cost a lot, but he's really good. You know what I'm saying? You get Juju Brents back and Kenny Moore on the field, all of a sudden that secondary is crazy, right? Even going forward, when Julian Blackman, who knows if he'll be here in the future? I assume not. But then you have Nick Cross. And honestly, right now, like the way things have been for Ballard, like when has Ballard ever really been in a position where he's like, okay, I know I have the quarterback of the future. Let me start to, sell out to try to win right now. That really hasn't happened since he's been here because Andrew Luck retired pretty much right when Chris Ballard got here. So, you know, I just think if we're ever going to see a different side of Chris Ballard, it's going to be over the next, year and a half or so, right? These first 2 years of Anthony Richardson's career, right? Coming into the season, we were unsure, so there weren't a whole lot of moves made, but he brought in some decent veterans through the offseason. And now we're going to start to see how aggressive will he be to try to win, right? This team looks really good under Shane Steichen, but it can obviously be better, especially on the defensive side, especially in the secondary. So how aggressive is he going to be, right? Is he going to be Patrick Surtain aggressive and try to go after that? There's also another guy, Jalen Johnson. He's another guy who's going to want paid soon. But if he's available and you don't have to give up a whole lot because you're going to have to be the team that pays him, then, I think it would be a smart move. You look at Jalen Johnson through the years, he's always, a decent amount of tackles. Now, one thing about Jalen Johnson is that he's never played all the games in a season. I go back to his rookie season where he played in and started 13 games. Next year, it was 15. 2022, it was 11. And this year, it's 5. So he's already not going to play all the games this year. So with him, that's one thing you just got to expect. But again, he's a willing tackler. He's a guy that can make plays on the ball. He only has 3 career interceptions. He just had 2 interceptions in the last game. And as I sit here and I look through the numbers of earlier in his career, right? So he's played all the different spots in the secondary at corner. He's played right cornerback, left cornerback, and then just been labeled as a DB the last couple of years. They move him around, which would be extremely useful in Gus Bradley's defense, right? He could be a guy that could just follow a receiver across the field. But again, looking at these numbers here, you can see early in his career, rookie year, second year, where he was getting picked on a little bit, but that happens to a lot of rookies, especially down the field. And the average yards per completion his rookie year was at 15.8. But if you look at 2023 and where we're at right now, his yards per completion is at 9.5. Yards per target is at 4.6, which is way down from what it normally is. He's not giving up a single touchdown this year. He's given up a quarterback rating of 24.7, a completion percentage of 47.8. He's only given up 105 yards on 11 completions, only been targeted 23 times up to this point in the season. So again, this is a guy, he doesn't really even get the ball thrown at him much. So I think Jalen Johnson would be another option here at corner, getting him from the Bears. There's a relationship there with Eberflus. Maybe we can work something out. Again, Jalen Johnson would certainly be the cheaper option. Yes, he's a really good player, but if the Colts are going to be the ones that are going to be giving him the extension that he's going to want, then the price is going to come down a little bit in terms of draft capital. So again, this isn't me saying we should go out and do this. It's just me saying with the trade deadline coming up, there are a lot of people on the market. With the Colts needs, I thought this was a conversation worth having, and I'd love to know what your opinion is of it. Right? So you let me know down in the comments sections. Don't be afraid to talk to each other about this subject. Just make sure we're, being respectful in the comments. All right. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to keep those notifications on for all the other videos that we have coming out. Due to my day job, I will not be able to get you today's injury report today, but I'll have that for you tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening-ish, we're going to be talking about the pregame preview, going over the last injury reports, talking about, predictions and all that good stuff. So again, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you get notified when all these other videos come out. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.